Lesson 1. How do plants live? Topics covered in the chapter: types of nutrition, autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition, synthesizes of other organic compound, special mode of nutrition, mineral nutrition. Our planet is the home to number of different kinds of living things. Living things share some common features which enable them to survive. These are called the life processes. Nutrition, respiration, circulation, and excretion are important life processes for all of us. Nutrition is the act of providing nutrients to the body cells of living organisms so that they can carry out activities to keep themselves alive. Green plants are the most important part of food chain. They can make their own food from basic substances, water and mineral found in the soil and carbon dioxide from atmosphere in the presence of sunlight. This process is called photosynthesis. Photo is equals to light, synthesis is equals to putting together. All green plants convert solar energy from the sun into chemical energy of food. Animals cannot make their own food. They have to eat plant or other animal that have eaten plant in order to survive. It is for this reason that movement from one place to another in search of food and shelter is an essential part of animal life. Types of nutrition. The mode of nutrition of living organism may be classified into the following types. Autotrophs, the mode of nutrition in which green plants prepare their own food and nourish themselves. All algae and some bacteria belong to this category. Heterotrophic, the mode of nutrition in which all non-green plants and animal draw their food from different sources. These sources may be plants or animal that eat plant. Autotrophic nutrition, organisms which make or synthesize their own food from simple raw material are called autotrophs, as they can prepare their food from raw inorganic material, carbon dioxide and water. They are also known as producers. Autotrophs range from simple green plants like algae to complex forms like the large branch tree. The mode of nutrition by green plants is called autotrophic. Auto is equals to self, trophos is equals to nourishment, nutrition. Leaves, the plant's food factory. Green leaves are the kitchen of the plant, as in the cell of these leaves. They are tiny structure, the chloroplast. Chloros is equals to green, where food is made by the process of photosynthesis. The chloroplast contains a green pigment, chlorophyll, that makes the leaf look green. Chlorophyll absorbs the solar energy and converts into chemical energy. CO2, carbon dioxide, plus H2O, water, in the presence of chlorophyll and sunlight, C6H12O6, glucose, plus O2, oxygen. The equation need not be balanced at this level. The arrow represents producers. This chemical energy is stored in the food that is prepared. For photosynthesis, the leaves need water from soil and carbon dioxide from the air. Water and minerals are absorbed from the soil by the roots, carried to the stem and finally to the leaves through water-conducting tissues called xylem vessels. These vessels are present throughout the plant body as a series of water pipes from root to leaves. Small aerating pores present in the leaf called stomata allow carbon dioxide to pass in and oxygen to be released out in the atmosphere. Can we imagine an earth without green plants and no photosynthesis? In the absence of photosynthesis, there would be no living organism and earth would be a barren place. Thus, photosynthesis is important in the following ways. It is the ultimate source of food and energy for all living organisms. Oxygen, released in the atmosphere, is a life-supporting gas. The process helps in maintaining balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. All green plants prepare food as glucose, a type of carbohydrate. They store food such as starch, a complex insoluble form of carbohydrate. These are stored in different storage organs like root, stem, leaf, fruit and seeds. Do you know Less than 1% of water absorbed by the root is utilized in photosynthesis. Do you know? Cactus is an unusual plant adapted to grow in extremely hot and dry environment. Their stem is developed into green, fleshy structures. They act as reservoir for water and become photosynthetic. The leaves are modified into spines to prevent the loss of water through transpiration. Heterotrophic nutrition. Organisms that are not capable of synthesizing their food and are dependent on other organisms for their food requirements are called heterotrophs. Heteros is equals to other. As these organisms depend on other for foods, plants and animal, they're also called consumers. All animal, including human beings, belong to this category. The mode of nutrition in non-green plant and animal is known as heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophic plants do not contain chlorophyll. Yeast, mushroom and mold are some example of non-green plant. Can you name the others? Heterotrophic nutrition in non-green plants. Heterotrophic nutrition in non-green plants are of the following three types. Saprotrophic. Mode of nutrition in which organisms depend on dead and decaying matter. For example, yeast, mold, mushroom. Parasitic. Mode of nutrition in which organisms depend on other living organisms. For example, Cuscuta. Symbiotic. Mode of nutrition in which two living organisms live together for their mutual benefit. For example, rhizosome, like. First, saprotrophic nutrition. Organisms which feed on dead and decaying organic matter are called saprotrophs. Other terms used for saprotrophs with the same meaning are saprotriphs and saprobionts. Saprotrophs secrete digestive juices on the dead and organic matter. It is then digested and converted into simple soluble forms. The soluble end product of digestion are then absorbed by the saprotrophs. The mode of nutrition in which organisms take in nutrients from dead and decaying organic matter is called saprotrophic nutrition. Saprotrophs are also called decomposers. Common examples of saprotrophs are fungi like mold, yeast, mushroom and many bacteria. Fungi are more commonly seen growing during rainy season. They grow on plant and animal organic matter like cloth, pickle, jam, bread, leather, wood and paper. Second, parasitic nutrition. Parasitic organisms live on or inside other living organisms called host and derive their food from them. The mode of nutrition in which organisms take in food from other living organisms is called parasitic nutrition. In parasitic association, the parasite is always benefited whereas the host is harmed. Parasitic plants are of two types. Total parasites. These plants cannot make their food and derive all of it from the host on which they are totally dependent throughout their life. Example, Cuscuta, a marble, a total stem parasite. Rafflesia, a total root parasite. Partial parasite. They have green leaves and therefore can make food for themselves. However, they get their water and minerals they need for making food from the host plant. Example, mistletoe, a partial stem parasite. Sandalwood, a partial root parasite. Do you know? Parasitic fungi attacks several crops, cultivated plants, ornamental and many wild plants, often causing serious diseases in them. Rust and smuts are common examples. They are known as plant pathogen. Third, symbiotic nutrition. Two organisms living in close association with each other, being of mutual benefit, are called symbionts. Syn is equals to together, bios is equals to life. And the condition of living together is called symbiosis. The mode of nutrition in which a close relationship between two organisms of different species is established and they live together for their mutual benefit is called symbiotic nutrition. Lichen is an example of such an association of two organisms, algae, autotrophs, and fungi, saprotrophs. The fungi hold the algae cell in its mat of web-like hyphae and supplies them with water and mineral. Algae, on the other hand, prepares food and supplies it to the fungi. Rhizosome, the bacterium living in association with root nodules of leguminous plant, is another example. It derives its nutrition from the roots and in turn converts atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogenous compound. These compounds are used by the plants for synthesizing proteins. In this way, the soil is replenished with nitrogen naturally. Synthesis of other organic compounds. During photosynthesis, green plants synthesize carbohydrates. These are organic compounds containing carbons, hydrogen, and oxygen. Plants also synthesize other organic compounds like proteins. Protein helps to make new cell and are required for growth of body by all living organisms. They are complex organic molecules containing nitrogen apart from carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. From where do plants obtain nitrogen? Though nitrogen is present in the atmosphere in abundance, about 78% by volume, its form is inert and cannot be used by any organism directly. Plants derive nitrogen from the soil in the form of nitrogenous compound. The conversion of free nitrogen of the atmosphere into nitrogenous compound to make it available for plant is called nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen compounds are made available to plants for synthesizing proteins. Different methods that help in converting atmospheric nitrogen into usable forms are electrical discharge during lightning process, fix some amount of nitrogen in the soil. A number of free-living bacteria and symbiotic bacteria take part in fixing the atmospheric nitrogen. Azobacter is one such example of free-living bacteria. Rhizosome, living is root nodule of leguminous plant, fix atmospheric nitrogen in the form of nitrates. Farmers replenish nitrogen in the soil by adding fertilizers to the soil that contain nitrogen compounds. These fertilizers are water soluble. They are absorbed by plants through roots. Special mode of nutrition. A special category of plant are insectivorous plants. These plants are also called carnivorous plant as they capture animal of different kinds, particularly insects. These are usually green and can make their own food. In this way, they supplement their normal autotrophic nutrition with a form of heterotrophic nutrition. Such plants typically live in nitrogen deficient soil. They trap insect using specialized leaf or parts of leaf, digest the prey and absorb the nitrogenous product from their body. Hence, their nitrogen demand is fulfilled from external sources rather than the soil. Pitcher plant. The hollow leaf of pitcher plant are filled with a fluid. Insects come to drink it, but the lid closes. The insects are drowned and eaten by the pitcher plant. Venus flytrap. The leaves of Venus flytrap is like a trap. It can close suddenly when an insect sits on them. Sundew plant. The leaves of sundew secrete a kind of fluid that glitters in the sun like dew drops. When an insect sits on the leaf, it gets entangled in the sticky fluid. Mineral nutrition. Plants need a variety of mineral elements for carrying out life functions. These are absorbed from the soil by the root system, carried to the stems, branches and leaves. The mineral source are air, soil and water. Mineral salts get dissolved in the water and are taken up. Plants use mineral in number of ways. They become constituents of protoplasm and cell wall. Example, nitrogen and sulfur on proteins, magnesium in chlorophyll and calcium in. The sources of some important plant nutrients are given in the following table. Air, carbon dioxide, oxygen, water, hydrogen, dissolved metal in ionic form, soil, nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, sulfur, calcium, magnesium, iron, manganese, zinc, boron, copper, cobalt, molybdenum. These mineral nutrients are used by the plant for their growth and development. Their amount keep on decreasing in the soil as they are used by the plants. In order to compensate for its loss, the farmers use fertilizers and manures. These contain specific nutrients that replenish in the soil. This enrichment of the soil keeps the plant healthy, which leads to a larger crop output. Can you see why farmers practice crop rotation in their field? Keywords: nutrition, process of taking in food and its utilization for life processes. Photosynthesis, the special way in which green plants make their own food in the presence of sunlight. Autotrophs, organisms that prepare their own food. Chloroplast, green plastids containing chlorophyll, abundant in green leaves. Transpiration, process by which plants lose water in the form of water vapor. Bleach, process of removing color. Iodine, chemical used for starch test, turning into dark blue when in contact with starch. Nodules, bead-like warty outgrowth in the root of leguminous plants. Saprotrophs, organisms feeding on dead and decaying organic matter. Consumers, animals feeding on plants or other plant-eating animals. Maybe a herbivore, carnivore, or omnivore. Symbionts, organisms which live together for mutual benefit. Hypha, the thread-like filamentous structure of which the fungal body is made. Summary: living beings need nutrition to live and run their life processes. Sun is the ultimate source of energy for all living beings. Green plants convert their solar energy into chemical energy, that is, the food that they synthesize during photosynthesis. Green plants produce glucose from simple raw material, carbon dioxide, mineral, salt, and water, sunlight, in the presence of chlorophyll. They are called autotrophs and the process is called photosynthesis. Oxygen released as a byproduct of photosynthesis is a life-supporting gas and used by all living organisms for their survival. Nitrogenous compounds are available to plants for protein synthesis through nitrogen fixation. Nutrition is non-green plants and animal is heterotroph. Heterotrophic plant may be parasite, taking food from the host plant or saprotroph, deriving nutrition from dead and decaying organic matter. Living organisms may also live in close association for mutual benefit as in the symbiotic association. Some plants adopt a dual mode of nutrition. Insectivorous plants are partly autotrophic and partly heterotrophic. Plants fulfill their mineral requirement from soil, water and air. Lesson 2. How do animals take food? Topics covered in the chapter: different steps of holozoic nutrition, ways of ingesting food in different animals, holozoic nutrition in Amobia, digestion in human beings